Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays Reread. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. But right now we are done with a book series.
We blazed through the Poppy Wars.
We blazed through the Poppy Wars. This is no longer a new book series. This is a completed book series.
Woohoo! Two done.
This is like one of the first. I never complete series, guys. I'm a terrible reader to the end. And so we have now officially read our first two, season 2.
Yeah.
It's the season finale. We are.
Which that was kind of like the point of us starting this. We were like, let's go through series so we can actually finish them. And now we've done 2.
We've done 2. So like now the podcast has made its purpose. We're leaving today. It's the series fit. No, we will be here again next week.
We'll go out on a high note.
Poppy Wars, I know. It's like so depressing. The main character died.
I thought they were really good.
I mean, I do think that they were really good. But today we're just going to do some winding down. We're going to answer some listener questions, read a couple 1-star reviews and riff on them. And we are also going to announce what the rest of the year looks like and what season 3 will be. Very exciting. You guys have to listen to the end.
Jimbo Choo.
Unless Hannah forgets again and she has to record it randomly. That has happened before. But Laura, let's get into it with some listener questions.
Okay.
The first one we have is, I think it is no shock that we were both a little disappointed with the end of the series.
Sure.
And how would we have liked to see the series end? Like, what would have been our perfect ending for each of us?
So I think my journey with the series, like I loved the first book, thought it was great. Second book, I thought was a very solid sequel. Third book is where it went off the rails. So The Burning God, I really did not. As someone who loved Rin so much throughout the book, I think I really would have just appreciated it if either Rin would have had a moment where she would have realized I need to remove myself from this situation and just either left, like fled to another place, similar to like what a lot of people do in fantasy novels, or like if she would have handed the reins over to Katai and let him be a leader instead of like, it seemed very much like this descent into madness that she was like losing control of herself, and it was a little bothersome to me because all throughout the rest of the series she had been like so aware of like how she felt about things and was very questioning of like being a leader and everything, and then it was like such whiplash to see her the second she gets any power becoming the way she does. So I think ideally I would have liked to have seen a situation where she removes herself from Nikata and just like leaves, like goes to I don't know, be with Shagan or something and learn more about creating shamans or more about the gods or something, and just leaves. That more open-ended. I think I would have preferred. What about you, Hannah?
So I agree. The third book is where everything went off a little bit on the rails. And we kind of talked about this in the last episode where it's like sometimes with the historical context that she wanted to base Rin off of this person who was pretty awful. It's hard to do when we've spent so much time with her. See, like it didn't do well enough with what you have to do with alternative fiction like this, where it's like humanize the person and then show details of the history that actually happened. So like, I know you had talked about some things where the person was like, okay, it's good that people are starving, then they'll die, you know. And Rin had almost flavors of this, but it was always just in like really philosophical conversations. And I think we almost needed to see that happening in practice where like we see her being okay with people dying because it's better than seeing them suffer. And then she says it and it's kind of misconstrued because people do not really understand the like heartfelt reason she's saying it, you know, and it sounds so callous. And I think we never got enough of that. And maybe it's just like Kwang was a very young writer when she started out with this. She was like, the intent was to build Rin off of this one person. And, oh my gosh, I just blanked on his name, Nesha off of another person. And I think sometimes it was hard because there weren't enough breadcrumbs there to show like the real world ties. Like,
Yeah.
and so I wish if she had wanted to do the historical recreation like she did, we had gotten more of that and more details of the historical context of each of these people, because it felt like there wasn't enough showing of Rin being that historically accurate person. You know, like we have read like She Who Becomes the Sun, which I think there are a lot more parallels to the historical like part of that versus like the fantasy portions of that. And this book lost me a little bit in that way. If I could do one without the historical context and and clean slate, I would have loved to have another book, obviously. And I would want the third book to deal with the rise and like with the re-rising of the trifecta. I would have had it been like at least 60 years ago.
Sure. Maybe like a rise, like the second part is when they are awake again, and maybe they have to be taken down in a way that is not so quick.
Exactly. And like they awaken the dragon, you see Rin kind of like, because Rin has an issue with father figures, like start glomming herself onto the dragon. You start seeing her descent into madness through this way, where the phoenix is talking with her more, being like, no, he has a point, no, people deserve, like let them burn, let it all burn. And you see her like kind of becoming more like him, and through that we see more of the Katai version of things, where he's like, I can't say no to Rin, I can't say no to Rin. And we see him giving a little bit more of himself to her. And then in the end of the third book, she takes down the trifecta, she takes down the dragon, and she does that active choice. And in the fourth book, Katai thinks like, good, we're finally in a better place. Rin has come through this. Rin is now back to normal. But we see the perspective through her head that like, no, she isn't. Like she has like kept all the precepts of what she did. She just keeps wanting more and more power that way. And then in the fourth book, it's her kind of probably, and maybe Neja like ends in the third book, and in the fourth book it's her going against the Catraids, like, and the Catraids like see that Rin isn't changed, and Katai is like, no, she's changed, she can prove this, she can do this, like we proved everything. And Shagan like knows, and Shagan's like, no, we let this happen for too long. I let it happen for too long. I made mistakes as a new leader, like he did in the where he like kind of lets Rin go off, and it starts to be a battle between them. And like Rin gets taken down, and like Katai moves forward with his life and doesn't die and becomes the leader. I would have loved to see that happen.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
With it, it would just have been so much like
you've
more
thought this out well.
Well, I read the questions.
Just a heads up, I submitted this question.
I took it seriously. But yeah, I think that would have been like a much more interesting novelization, and it would have dealt with like a lot more of the like interpersonal stuff, which is my favorite stuff. And I would have liked to see Katai and Rin pass the Neja of it all, because I think it was so easy to use him as a scapegoat. Whereas if she had taken him down with the trifecta, then it's Katai being like, there's nothing left, Rin, like what the heck. And then, so that is my thoughts. We would love to hear everyone else's, honestly. Like, share us, like, what do you think of Hannah and Laura's retelling of it?
Like, would you have given this a different ending if you could have? And what would you have done? Yes. That I'm curious about, because Hannah's retelling there, I really like that. That I would have preferred that. That would have been really good. So it's too bad that it's too late to cooperate with Kwang on like a collaborative effort on the Burning God. But
Kwang, call me about the fourth book. That's just about Shagan. Yes, I would love to help you with that book. I'm an ideas woman. The next question comes from Booksmart Cass, and it's actually, who is your favorite character and why is it Katai? And unfortunately, Cass, Katai kind of disappointed us in the third book. It wasn't his fault, but he was not my favorite character at the end of the day.
He wasn't my favorite character throughout the series.
Yeah.
I mean, if we go throughout the entire series, who is your favorite character, Hannah?
I mean, Rin technically, but also we all know this. Last episode, I have a soft spot for Venka. I don't know why. I hated her in the first book. I thought Venka was terrible in the first book. But I really liked seeing what Kwang could do with a character who was terrible in the first book, and how to show someone deconstructing their own internalized issues. and coming to terms with how problematic their society was and actively choosing to be a part of the resistance. Maybe for not all the like perfect, like Katai wanted to be a part of the resistance because he saw all the harm. Venka was just kind of like, I'm a soldier. I want to be a soldier. And it seems like you guys have better ideas than the other guys. I haven't thought that much past it, you know, and it's like, that's awesome because that's more interesting to me. I don't like seeing a perfect character be perfect. I like seeing complicated reasoning and, you know, someone having problems with what happened to them and coming to terms with it, even if it's not the best way that they could have done it. So I really liked Venka. And Zhang is also like, it's just like, I really like Zhang. He's funny.
Yeah, agreed. I think my favorite character, if like through all 3 books, was Alton. Like,
oh yeah, you were an Alton stan.
I am an Alton stan. And then I honestly, my second favorite is Rin. So I cannot give up on her.
I know. It's actually really interesting because this will be like a quasi question, but more of a comment from number 1 listener, Ronnie reads regularly. She said something to me that shocked me a little, where she said, when we're talking about Rin, she didn't think we liked her. And
I really like her.
We really like Rin. We're very big fans of
it's
her.
My second favorite character.
She's probably my first favorite character. Because I really liked Rin. I think Rin has a lot of criticism. Like we criticize Rin a lot, but criticizing isn't disliking. It's you feel almost like you're a big sister to Rin, being like, come on, sweetie, like stop making these mistakes. Just be a soldier and move on with your life. And like, I do feel like you're right in the books where Kwang kind of lost the thread on Rin not wanting to be a leader, just liking being a soldier and being a reluctant hero. And then all of a sudden she's like on the other side of things and she's like, I deserve all this power. And it's like, you've been begging not to have power, on your knees begging.
You literally gave up the psych to be like, I can't handle this.
Right. And like,
but at the same time, it's so relatable. Like we ourselves said, we were criticizing her, like, seriously, you did that. And then in the next breath, we were literally like, yeah, that's exactly us taking on committees and then being like, we can't do this.
It's very true. So I think like we criticize Rin a lot because you're supposed to criticize Rin a lot, but like Rin gets so much criticism, but she also gets like, there's a certain energy of like, I can read a review and be like, oh, they hated Rin. And I think you and I never really hated Rin. We just like felt frustrated with some of her details and things like kissing what's his face. Like, why did she never?
Nezha's dad?
I love Roddy did point out like literally she never kisses Nezha, but she does get to kiss his dad.
So bothered. Like, get your lips off Maestro. Like, stop.
Why did that happen? I don't understand. Like,
always with the cringy kisses. Like, no.
But that was a problem. That was problematic. We did not like that. We don't.
I mean, yeah, not a fan.
I do find it interesting that like one of the lost threads is like, there's no way that Rin wasn't related to that one general, right?
It's got to be her mother, the one that Zhang was in love with.
Right. And like, I'm just like, okay, so is that her mom? Yeah, is Hanalei her mom? Because like she has to be.
Figure this out right now. I mean, we can go to the Poppy War Wikipedia and see here. Rin's Wikipedia, unknown father. So Alton would be her cousin.
I kept thinking there'd be concrete reveal that Rin was like Nasser, Zhang, and Hanalei's child, but nope.
No, we didn't get that, unfortunately.
That's just from Amanda Kate Tong.com blog.
Yeah, this says right on here, unnamed father, mother, Hanalei.
Okay. But I do wish that there had been some like, oh, it was definitely Zhang or Hanalei. And,
sure.
But then it's like, okay, so then Alton was your
romantic
cousin.
Interest, Yin Nezha.
But also like, she talks about being in love with Alton, and it's like, he was definitely your cousin.
Is that the Star Wars moment that we get where it's like, Luke and Leia have this bond and they love each other, but then they figure out, oh, whoops, we're brother and sister.
Right.
Is that what we're getting there? I'm unsure.
I don't know. It's so strange, but I wish we had known what happened to Kasegi. He died off screen.
Poor Kasegi. I mean,
that poor little 10-year-old. Like, he just wanted his sister back. Like, I don't know. So many problems.
Before we're too far off of that kiss, I will say, with the kiss between Rin and Vistra, I will say that Vistra, to me, was one of the most compelling characters in the series. And he was a big part of the second book.
Right.
And even though this is a terrible character, I felt very attached to the character, as I think you're supposed to, along with Rin. Right. Get attached to that character and want to see the good in him, even though he is so bad and has so many sinister things going on. But the way that Kwang is able to write a villain like that is so good. And I think that he was a really compelling character and really made for a great setup in the second book.
I do think that she had, like, some of Kwang's best writing is always through villains, because like when she makes someone an out and out villain, they're never pure evil. Like, she always has them threaded with like, oh, they kind of like, you could see
they
why
all
people
have
want to
motivations.
Yeah. But it's not like evil for evil's sake. Like, Visor isn't running around being like, oh my gosh, I'm so evil, and I'm like clacking my fingers together. Like, he is like,
the only one doing that was the Dragon Emperor.
Yeah, he was so
he like came out of the tomb.
I want to murder everyone.
Raring to go. But yeah, like the other villainous characters, they all have kind of like motivations, and even Vistra, I think, thought in his heart of hearts that he was doing the right thing, even though he was doing so many bad things and putting so many people at jeopardy. And I think it was definitely one of those for the greater good, quote unquote, situations that, a lot of times villains fall into this kind of situation where it's more gray than it is black and white.
Mm-hmm. I do think it's like a big, huge thing that I'm also interested in Visera, and like all of the villains in this. Cause like in the third book, we had the Southerner, oh my gosh, what's his name? Who like Suji, who like, he could have been so interesting because he's one of the only like Southern people who could be a foil for Rin and show like a different perspective.
Because usually, it's her kind of fighting against, or not fighting necessarily all the time, but working against people. Yeah, people who are from the North, people who are lighter skinned than her, who have more money than her.
And like, it was always interesting to see him because he was someone who came from a similar background and had similar motivations to Rin and took similar actions. And it felt like there wasn't enough of like a resounding like ending for him. Because it's like, yeah, he came from a Rin's background. He rose himself up to a general through like going to Synagard. And then it's just like, okay, now he's off screen. It's like, why did we do that? That's so strange. And I thought
the parts of this book that were good, the parts of the last book that were good were really good. And then there were parts that were just bad. Yeah. And I feel like the Suji part, we really needed more built into that. We really could have dealt with a whole nother book, maybe even two.
Yeah.
To stretch this out into more of a series. Unfortunately, Kwang was already babbling, so it was babbling. Too late. But I really think there are a lot of characters like that were interesting and could have had a bigger role in the series, but unfortunately were either brought in too late or too early even.
Yeah.
So
we also have a question from Sandra from Story Darlings fame. And she asked, on a scale of 1 to 5, how do we rate the series overall?
1 to 5?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 4.5. I mean,
yeah, I think it's a 4.5. Like, and I think every half star that was lost was the third book.
Yeah,
it was.
I was gonna give it 4 because the first 2 books I gave 5 stars. So it was the third book that I gave 3. So I'm gonna go with 4.5. With it leaning heavily on my love for the first 2 books.
Same.
I'm reading actually like some 1-star reviews about The Burning God, and I just noticed this comment in one of the reviews that someone said that there's a total lack of any like beautiful prose throughout these books.
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting, because I did not notice that when I was reading the Poppy War both times, because I've read the first 2 books twice.
Right.
So the first book, I was like totally enthralled with it, that when I was reading it, I was just like in it. And I also had a similar experience reading like She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan, where in the beginning of this book, you are so absorbed in this mission to get to Sinigard. And then this journey into the psych and everything and all the training involved and everything. And I guess I didn't even realize that there was no beautiful prose. And I'm someone who literally, if there is beautiful prose or like things are written really prettily, I am like, maybe 5 stars. And then it could be a terrible book, but if it's written prettily, I'm like, okay, 5 stars. But this one, I was so into it that the first book, I was so into it, I didn't even notice the prose. So I think that says a lot for Kwang's writing,
right?
That she's able to write things kind of simplistically, and they still come off like really well. They're really easy to get into and read. And
I do think that there's almost like, I feel like we undervalue prose that are simplistic but get you in the scene, because something about like Kwang's writing is I can always imagine what it looks like and feels like I can imagine like how dirty it is, or how like, you know, it's very visceral the way she writes. And like even in Babel, like I remember like the scene setting was just so good. And I think sometimes we are like, well, we like really pretty writing, but it's like, but Kwang's writing packs a punch, and like it comes at you in a very like, you know, specific level where it's like, no, I'm going to get you into the scene. And I don't need to have like a paragraph or 2 about like how wonderful Sinigard is, like how the towers look. It's like, okay, guess what? People view towers in a certain way. That's like
the cherry blossoms fell down along the pavement as I walked up the steps.
Exactly.
It's like, do we need that? No.
And so I do like laugh when people think, and there's like so many things on TikTok, especially, there's so many videos of like, listen, if you have a paragraph describing the person, I don't care. They're going to look how I picture them in my head. Right. And so I do think that that's not always, you know, that's like Beach Read by Emily Henry. I never know what January Jones is actually supposed to look like. I'm always like, oh, she just looks like a picture I put in my head, because like I forgot how she was described. So this is how she looks in my head, and this is how she is. I just think sometimes people overvalue beautiful prose when it comes to like a good fantasy book like this. So
yeah, I think that this series is easily a 4 out of 5 for me. There's a lot of really heavy topics, and I think if you haven't read the series, I mean, we've obviously given a lot of spoilers so far, but and I'm sure anyone listening to this has probably read the books, but there's a lot of heavy topics and content warnings to look into if you haven't read them or haven't read all of them. And I think Kwang writes this in such a way that she handles the topics well and shows resilience in her characters through conflict. And I really appreciated that.
Right.
And even though I didn't appreciate as much the end for Rin and the last book, Speed, I think overall this is a really great book series, and I would recommend it to people.
Yeah, definitely. I really recommend. I've already made someone read this, so
awesome.
We're sending this through.
Come through.
I'm looking through someone who like grabbed random tweets from R.F. Kuang. It's someone I follow on Instagram. Love her, Elle, from Elemental Books. And it's like R.F. Kuang, me. Rin is so stupid. My trash child. Not a single brain cell left in that tiny embodiment of clownery. Also me. My baby, my daughter. She's glowing. She's stellar. A goddess. Burn the rich. And it's like, yeah, I feel like Kuang feels both those things about Rin.
So does Neja.
Yeah. And she also says this entire book is just Katai. Rin, don't do that. Neja, Rin, I dare you. Rin, he dared me.
Pretty much.
R.F. Kuang, people complain Rin is a dumb teenager, and it's like, yeah, the author was also a dumb teenager. Please, sirs, I'm grown now and ready to write books about adults with brains. Very accurate.
Yeah.
So
That was a Kwang tweet.
Yeah, the only way I could explain yin neja is I was 19 and did not have a prefrontal cortex. Imagine having to live down creating a character as emo as Alton Trensing for the rest of your life. R.I.P. Bye.
Oh, great.
I love it. I love R.F. Bog. Good for you.
Oh, Rebecca.
You're amazing. But yeah, I think that this book is just like, or this series overall, 4.5 out of 5. I can't give the third book any more than the 4. And I was being nice when I gave it the 4 stars. So, it's rough. It's rough. But yeah, do you want to go through some 1-star reviews?
I mean, I'm looking at 1-star reviews specifically for The Burning God. WTF is this ending? This just got worse and worse until it couldn't get any worse, and then it did. Tiresome predictability, unimaginative characters, trite expressions. Why did I do this to myself? Let's see. Might do a review or might just do the best to erase this from my brain forever.
I like this one. The more I think about the conclusion, the more I dislike it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
not to be a hater, but sometimes I'm exactly that. This one is interesting to me. It says this series is the epitome of death by hype. I heard so many good things about the Poppy War series, and as a result, I picked up the Poppy War and enjoyed it, even though I felt a nagging feeling at the back of my head and I told myself that some aspects of the book, like the unneeded exposition about shamanism, Rin's public uterus woes, the flatness and blandness of the characters, etc., were odd or plain bad writing. Alas, the Dragon Republic and this book were reminders to me that I always need to trust my gut. The next time I sense something is up about a book, chances are there's something bad brewing. This series, even in the Poppy War, a book I genuinely enjoyed and thought was genius, had a vaguely Wattpad-esque Avatar, The Last Airbender fanfic vibe that I never failed to smell on the like shit on the wind. So interesting.
Right.
He says that the characters, with the exception of Rin, had a blandness to them, and he felt like it was hard to see them grow and that they didn't grow throughout the series.
Sometimes with that, because like I also am looking at one where it's like I hate the Rin as a main character. She's frustrating. I felt she had a good character arc in the first book that developed her as a person, but then she was transformed into a different person. It was an entirely wrong direction from an enjoyability perspective. I do wonder if like sometimes when people read fantasies, like this is a grim dark fantasy that I don't think people necessarily understand is supposed to be dark. And it is weird to me to like read a book and go so hard about like, well, this character isn't likable. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point of it. Like we like her because she's not likable and she is flawed. And you can be like, there's so many things that she has like gone through that make her the way she is. And we have to recognize those things. Even if like, Rin isn't a fun hang. I'm sorry. You don't. I mean,
I don't think that was what that reviewer was saying. I think Rin was the only character that they liked.
Oh, okay.
I think they were saying that all the other characters were flat and bland, and that Rin was the only interesting one.
That's on me. I misread that. So,
but I agree, Hannah. There are a lot of reviews like that are kind of hating on Rin.
Yes.
This one said not enough Shagan, which hard agree. So.
Yes, hard agree. That's fair.
There's a lot of 1-star reviews that I think are. I'm not going to read a bunch of 1-star reviews.
No.
Because I don't think that's fair. But I'll read a couple of 5-star reviews here, and we can kind of see, some different takes here. I mean, as for me, I'm just like reading some of these different ones to kind of show some different perspectives. We didn't get very many listener questions.
Yes.
So
and we also want to like make sure it's not just our perspective we're going into it. Yeah.
So you can find these on Goodreads. They're literally right there for everyone to see in the public section.
Right.
So a lot of these, let's see here. The last book in the series was the weakest, not enough answers and too short, but they love the world building, magic system, and the morally gray main characters. Hard agree. This book broke me.
I love that like a lot of the 5-star reviews, and this is something that people can see on Goodreads, like you said, but a good
Right.
perspective is like a lot of the 5-star reviews always use some of the quotes. And this is
Mhm.
where I'm like, I don't know, I don't quite understand how it's like the prose aren't beautiful, because like when they're good, they're great. You know, when they're great, they're great. And it's like war didn't end not so cleanly. It just kept building up in little hurts that piled on one another until they exploded afresh into raw new wounds. Like
I mean, that's
that
true,
is
but also in The Burning God, there were moments where I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I just said like literally broke back off me. And there was like things similar
right.
to
I
that in
know.
the last book where I was like, they probably wouldn't say that. So
That
I
is
mean,
fair.
you get it on both ends.
Yes.
But yes, there are moments that are really beautiful too. And I think that's kind of what I was going for when I was kind of elevating the Poppy War, the first book, is that there's so many moments in that where you're like following Rin from her journey from poverty to Sinigard to being a soldier, that you're just like so enamored with the whole situation that you forget there's not a lot of beautiful prose because the situation does seem beautiful.
right.
So
And like, yeah, and there are like throughout these books, I found myself tapping so many different like beautiful sections that really hit home for
sure.
me. And so, and I do think like this last book was the least amount of like needing tabs, because it just didn't hit the way I wanted it to, or the way
A
like
lot of people are
certain
saying like
passages hit.
they are sobbing and stuff like that, which I didn't feel that like whole you need a bucket for your tears thing. I was not along those lines. This book did not make me cry.
So I wonder if this like hurt a little bit from the perspective of, we kind of knew going in it was supposed to be incredibly sad. So we were both like, well, Rin has to die. Like there's no way Rin is making it out alive. Rin's gonna die. And I do wonder,
I feel like I cried more over the fact that Rand lived at the end of the Wheel of Time. Like, why?
Well, way to spoil the Wheel of Time for people who tuned into season 2, Laura.
It's been out for 30 years.
But I do wonder if this one had a little bit of like, everyone knew it's supposed to be like devastating, but if you're used to fantasies where the person lives, it might hit a little bit harder to be shocked that they die.
Right.
Whereas I think you and I were just kind of like, this book has a certain vibe. It feels like this is going to happen. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Because I didn't cry or feel all too sad. I felt sad that Katai died, because I was like, what? Like, but
Correction on myself, A Memory of Light came out in 2013.
Oh, yes.
Before people come after me for being like, oh, it was not 30 years ago.
It was not 30 years. Oh my gosh. Come on. Are you even a fan? No, she is not.
I mean, the TV show, I am a big fan.
Yes.
Book 4, big fan.
Right.
I mean, I think for this series overall, if you want more in-depth things, you can go back and listen to our other episodes. Obviously, we didn't appreciate the Neja romance. There's not much more to say on that.
Rebecca did not have a prefrontal cortex.
She did not have that's all the explanation we honestly need. And that's all the explanation you need as a reader, honestly, to realize why it was written that way.
That was kind of the energy we were always like, she was 19. Like, I remember the love interest I created when I was 19. Like, I am rewriting a novel that I've been working on for 10 years. Like, I started it when I was 20, and there was a scene in it where a potential love interest who's no longer a love interest, like, literally burns this woman. And I'm like, you can't have it where he physically abuses her and later on during the line becomes a romantic interest, Hannah. But like at 20, unfortunately, you're not as smart as you once were. And you're like, maybe that is romance. And it's like, no, it's not. I'm 30. No, it's not. Like, go away. Like,
we're over
that.
Not
romantic. We're not doing that anymore, because it's dangerous to tell young girls that that is what romance is. Like, let's get that out of our vocabulary. Totally understandable. But like, nope. But yeah, Laura, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Are you happy I suggested this one? Because I picked this series. Oh, good.
So I knew we were going to cover this, and so I went and started buying the books at our local bookstore, and I picked up the first 2, and I had the second one because I wanted them all in paperback. I prefer paperbacks. And so I had ordered the second or the third one. It hadn't come out in paperback yet. And when I picked up the first 2, the kid at the bookstore was like, "Oh, these are really good. I hope you like them." And so I thought that was really cute that I got a glowing recommendation at the bookstore from
That's
the
amazing.
kid that was the cashier there. And then I just like on a whim, I was in a book slump last year, and so I picked it up at the end of last year because I have a weird thing for orange and red books. I cannot explain it. Like, I'm always drawn to them. Orange and red books are my weakness.
Yes,
I always judge a book by its cover. If it's orange or
how else are you supposed to judge a book? That's a bad turn of phrase.
I guess I'm just like drawn to orange and red things apparently. But so I picked it up and it broke my book slump, and it was like a really great read. And so then I read the next one in January and really liked it too. So I was skeptical going in because I was like, the first series you suggested was Wheel of Time, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into here? But this series I really, really enjoyed.
Good.
So some of my favorite books of the year.
Awesome. I'm glad you loved them. I loved them. I'm glad I picked this one. I had seen it like around on Bookstagram and on Twitter, and like a couple of our favorite people have covered this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really happy with the outcome. I'm really happy I suggested it. I didn't know what we were getting into, but I sure did enjoy what we saw while we were here.
Yeah, I think for me, as someone who doesn't read a lot of fantasy, this is not a ton of fantasy, honestly. Like, the fantasy elements are not as much a part of this as the political things and the the colonialism and the language barriers and the poverty and things like that we have to deal with. So I think that maybe that kind of worked in its favor for me personally, liking the book more. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Well, with that said, a couple of housekeeping items for everyone, because we're about to head into a new section. So Laura and I have made the very brave choice to not start season 3 until the new year. So we have some things to tide us over for the rest of the year. So everyone buckle up for a little bit of a new thing for our pod. Back to some old. The next couple weeks, the next 3 weeks, we will be doing our indie intermission, which means we will be reading EP Stavs, the
Marked Princess.
Princess. We're so excited. It finally won. Last week was the last week of voting, and that one, it was a tight matchup. There were so many close like calls.
There were so many nail biters in this where they were like so close, and I'm like looking at the polls, I'm like, oh my gosh, how
yikes. Like Laura was like, I don't even know who's winning the last round. Because I'm the one who tallies everything up. But it was awesome. We were so excited. Guys, buy every single indie mission book. Like, just buy them. They're awesome authors. Everyone
support indie authors. Everyone that was involved in it was so supportive of each other. And I love seeing the comments from not only like people that are just like following us on Twitter or Instagram saying, oh, I'm going to check this one out, or I'm going to check that one out. But I love seeing the authors lift up each other and say, oh, I can't wait to check out so-and-so's book. Thanks for including me. Or I'm going to buy this book because we were competing in the same brackets. And I think that's so sweet to see people supporting each other, because that's what we should be doing in life. We're a community. We should be working together to help each other out and to promote happiness. And I love that.
I know. I loved it so much. And like, we're always open to suggestions and like what to do during indie mission. We've also like, for all authors listening, if there's ever around you you just don't want to be a part of, we get it. We're not going to judge. Just ask us, and we are open to that. We never want to like push people to be voting. So we love doing indie mission, and we love doing the polls. They're just such a good community.
And really, this is not supposed to be like a popularity contest type thing. It's more so to like get your name, or hoping that it gets your name out there, like bring some awareness to your work, and not just like for our selfish reasons, wanting to cover something on the podcast. So,
we just like doing this, and it's a fun way to pick one that like show, that we don't get like, it just takes the decision out of our hands.
The pressure's off of us to pick.
Like, everyone go to our Twitter, because I shared a bunch of their like 5-star reviews this time around, and read about why people love this. Like, because people love these books and it's so important to like bolster them up. So get every single one of them, read every single one of them, but start with The Marked Princess, because we are be covering that in October and November. And then we have quite a few author interviews. We're setting one up for Mission. But next we have, drumroll please, we have Allison Cochran's Kiss Her Once for Me author interview. Laura,
one of my new favorites.
If you guys remember, Laura read The Charm Offensive and she immediately was like, oh my gosh, I love this book. It's so good. I need to, like, you need to read it. We need to get her on the podcast. I want to read her next book.
I love Allison Cochran.
Laura loves Allison Cochran. And so her newest book, pre-order it now. It's called Kiss Her Once for Me. Guys,
spoiler, it's so good.
It's so good. It's so cute. I'm like, biggest smile on my face the entire time I've been reading it. Pre-order it now.
Newsflash, I love The Charm Offensive. Kiss Her Once for Me is even better.
It's so good. It's so cute, guys. I cannot tell you how cute this book is, and it's perfect for wintertime. We're doing the author interview. Will be coming out in November.
Like mostly in July. So.
But it is a wintertime book. So like, guys, it's going to be so good. Listen to the podcast. We'll do some spoiler free and, some spoiler filled questions with her, but we'll try to, because it'll be brand new. It'll just be out when the episode drops. So make sure that you're getting it now, because guys, we can't recommend that book.
It's so good. Everyone rush now to order it, pre-order it.
And then the week after, you'll have to do another pre-order. We're just making you guys get so many books.
We're making you guys empty your wallets, or you know what? Get on those library hold lists now.
Get on them now.
Because these books are going to be wanted so
my gosh.
much.
Because the week after we do Allison Cochran's interview, we will be covering Viviana Valentine Gets Her Man by Emily J. Edwards. We love Emily.
Cannot wait for that laugh fest, because Emily is so fun. I cannot wait to bring up all the similarities between the Da Vinci Code and her book.
For people who do not know,
her inspiration was the Da Vinci Code.
Obviously, all the code breaking symbology runs heavily, and Viviana Valentine gets her man.
Definitely not.
No, definitely not. No, for everyone who knows, Emily Edwards does Fuckboys of Literature, which we were on, and we covered the Da Vinci Code, and it was an amazing episode. We laughed the entire time.
Emily's so fun. Good. Love her podcast.
And her book is just as fun and zany. Like, it has all of her zaniness and all of like the
so
greatness. It's
literally
so
I'm reading it and a sepia filter goes through my mind. So it's a fun book. You need to get it.
It's a fun book. Definitely get it. So good.
I haven't finished it yet, but I'm really excited.
We're setting up her interview, but it should be coming out the week after the Allison Cochran one. So you guys get some new books from us, to read. And then after that, we will be doing another nostalgia book club, Artemis Fowl with Fiction Fans.
Our favorite.
Owen Kofor. I did have to look up how to pronounce his name. Because...
Good on you for looking it up, because fourth grade me did not know how to say that.
Right? I know. And so that will be us October through November. And then something we will be doing for season 4 of the show. We are announcing season 3 at the end of this episode. Reminder now. But in December, Laura and I have taken a page from FTF, our best guy friends over at Friends Talking Fantasy, them specifically on the specific podcast. They do a Friends Pitching Fantasy episode where they each pitch each other different books. And Laura and I are going to be doing our own version, and we're going to be having a season 4 showdown where Laura and I will each pitch 3 different series to cover.
Yeah, did we set it in 3 series each?
3 series each, yeah. Okay. I think. Why do you want to make it 4? Is that
No, 3's fine. 3's fine.
Do you have how many have you prepared?
I just picked out some. I didn't prepare any material. Is the material to prepare?
No, I mean you have to pitch me 3 of your series to see which one we should do.
I'm gonna lose this. Listeners, you gotta help me out.
But we are going to do that and then ask listeners to kind of help us choose from those 6 different series we're pitching or overlap, because we're not having anyone check on which ones we're doing.
Sure. I think it would be, Hannah wanted to see if we could let's have somebody check and make sure we don't have any of the same ones. I was like, let's not, because it'd be funny if we each pitched one of the same series.
Exactly. Maybe we'll pitch all the same series all through.
That would be great.
That would
I
be
know
funny.
we won't, because I'm pretty sure you know one of them that I'm going to pitch, and I know you will not pitch it. So don't say it, Hannah. But
I don't know if I do.
Don't say it, Hannah. We're
so
keeping
confused.
it a surprise.
Okay, but we will be doing a season 4 showdown of our own, and just having us go against one another to pick out different series and see which one we land on.
Sure.
And we'll have listeners vote and see what they think and see what their thoughts are. And then we're gonna have a couple of wrap-up episodes at the end of the year.
Kind of check-ins, because the next several weeks we're not really going to get many opportunities to talk about what we're reading, watching, and or enjoying. And then we want to talk about some of our favorite things for the whole year.
Exactly.
So,
we're going to do year-end wrap-up favorites. So that'll be awesome, guys. We're looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a very fun, new, and I think it's going to be something fun and different for us.
We're into something new.
We're just trying out some new things. We're really excited to bring these for you. And we're really excited after that, January 2023 to...
Woo-hoo!
Laura, would you like to announce season 3?
I picked this series because I wanted to read it for a really long time now. We're going to be reading The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. Woohoo!
This will be very exciting, guys. And this will also be a very interesting season, because I believe our current plan is to cover one book every 2 weeks. Because these are
shorter books.
These are shorter books. So
we'll probably get through them in about the amount of time that we got through the Poppy War, I would guess.
But this will be exciting because not all of the books have been made yet. So throughout, whenever Martha publishes a new one, we'll get to go back to the drawing board and check in with Murderbot. And so you guys know what that means. If you guys have read Murderbot Diaries, pitch us a mini-series name. Yes, because neither one of us has read these, so we don't know what to call it. But Murderbot is a wonderful novella series where it is about a murder bot. Obviously, it's in the name, and it's as a heartless killing machine, I was a complete failure. That is what it opens up with, and it is about a bot that decides they're not really interested in killing anymore, but they've worked for the company and they're supplied by a company, and it's kind of their own inner workings of figuring out the world, from what I can see.
Right.
It's been highly recommended. It is award winning, and we cannot wait to cover these, guys. I am so excited to read. I'm
so excited about these. You guys know I don't read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi, but anytime I read a sci-fi, I'm like, ooh, I dig this. So I
love sci-fi.
So excited.
I'm so excited to read this. I love sci-fi. I cannot wait. And we will be getting into that January 2023. So pick up those books now. Be
Christmas
ready.
Lists.
Christmas lists. Get them on them.
Holiday lists.
And with that said, Laura, we have blazed through the Poppy War.
We blazed through the Poppy Wars. We loved this series. We love R.F. Kuang. Pick up all of Kuang's work. Yellowface is coming out next year. Try to get the arc. Read Babel. It's out now. Rebecca Kuang is doing so many great things. Thank you for suggesting this series, Hannah. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely love it. Cannot wait for a TV adaptation.
Oh, same. Can't wait to see it. And guys, thank you so much for following along with us. If you want to continue, please rate, review, and subscribe. Rating, reviewing, and subscribing is a great way to get everyone invested in season 3 or in the author interviews we have coming up.
And you know what? I would love it if people pitch some ideas for things that they would like to see us do. If you like us doing author interviews or indie missions, or if you have an idea of something you think that we should cover or a format we should try, let us know. We're willing to try it.
And we're looking ahead to do some new things in 2023, maybe some ways to get listeners more involved. So, give us some suggestions. We're open to anything. We're really excited. And you should do that at all of our handles, that at Our Pod, that's OWWR Pod on Twitter and Instagram, or Our Pod, OWWR Pod at gmail.com. We're really excited, and definitely reach out to us with your thoughts. Bye.
Bye.